What do what you did it? Yeah. Good. Okay. So this is a title is explanation of creation Yesh Ma'ayin, and really anybody can realize that everything is created from nothing, even a non-Jew, because nothing obviously makes itself. And even according to science, every cause has an effect. Every effect has a cause that causes it. And like the Rambam says, it's a sheker mukhlat. It's absolutely impossible that there could be an infinite cause and effect. There has to finally be a first cause. And the first cause has to be a nothing. Because if it was an existing something, itself would have to have a cause. Therefore, just logically, everything has to be created from nothing, but that's not what we're going to worry about over here. What we want to know here is, how is it that Hashem creates the world from nothing? And we're going to start like helicopters coming into a huge mountain or a lander on the moon. And the first thing that's seen is a huge mountain, which has 50 times 50,000 levels. And the helicopter is going to come in and land on one of those levels. Lahavim betvosu fear kol prati hamadregos ba'avoda eloki ve'ech shekulam nimshachim al yidei ha'iyam, to understand the godly service and how it is drawn down through understanding the explanation in a detailed way, which is called his bonus. Naktim first, Lavar, we're going to explain Hasaga Achas, one particular explanation in godliness, Eloki, Asher Hasaga Hahi, who Gam came, Tachlis Kol Adam, it is, to understand this is the purpose of a whole person, Lahaimik Daito, to deep his concentration, or Kavon, and his intention, Libo of his heart, tasted very well. In this, understand the light that fills all worlds. Because through understanding that, Nisa Giloy Elokut, I should say the Hebrew, Ki ID, Ki Alidei Hasagazos Nimsha Giloy Elokus, Benishmoso Ubenasho Hativis. That through understanding this thing of the light that fills all worlds will be drawn down a revelation of godliness into the person's soul and into his natural soul. The level of the Orient Sof, the low bechinas makif bilvad, and not just in a surrounding way, it will be internalized. Kamal hasaga, the so-called the understanding of the light that surrounds all worlds will not be internalized. Shalo tocho labo the bechinas fanimias rak the bechinas yidias paragasha bederach romamos v'hafla. The light that surrounds our world can only understood how it's far away and can't be internalized. And with this understanding of how far removed Hashem is from us, we have not done the mitzvah of knowing God. And you'll see mitzvah.
It's a topic of Yesh Me'ayin. Yesh Me'ayin. And it's also in English, there's a summary.
It's a pretty good notes on what's, it's more than a summary. It's notes on what this thing is.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a mitzvah to know God, and the only way to accomplish that mitzvah is to internalize the understanding of the light that fills all worlds. Rock so
Yiddias Hashem is only in the Malach, or
the only way to accomplish the mitzvah is to internalize the knowledge of God through understanding how Hashem fills all worlds. Where we are is the last word of the line in the right-hand column is Iker. Rock Iker. In the right-hand column. Okay, so what we said, there's a commandment to know God. And the only way to accomplish it, he says, is to understand the godly dynamic called the light that fills all worlds. There's a light that fills all worlds and a light, godly light that surrounds all worlds. And the way to internalize a knowledge of God, which is a mitzvah, is through understanding this light that fills all worlds. But the main intention in understanding the light that fills all worlds, how this light that fills all worlds, which looks like a very contracted light, is not separate at all from Hashem himself. Rak shebachinas atzmos or ein sof, that the essence of the infinite light, Gufa himself, who hamamali, that is what's filling the world. L'kol olamos, all of the worlds, the kol echod, the echod, the prat, each one in particular. V'afal pikein ein bo shinoi klal chas v'sholem, and even though he's filling all these separate levels, there is no change in him. V'zehu mitzvahs Shema Yisrael, and this is the mitzvah of listen, Israel. Shema meaning to understand. The Hainu Shiyavi Yasi, to understand and comprehend. Ech Shavaya Elokeinu, how Hashem our God. Shehu B'chinas Asmos or Ein Sof, which is indicated by the essence of infinite light. Which is higher than both the infilling light and the surrounding light. So what is that level? That is the source of the Jewish soul. That's what it says. Shema Yisroel. That Yisroel is the essence of the neshama. Who Havai Echod, and that source of the Jewish souls, that is the one God. That's Havai Echod. Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echod. Shehu Inyan Yehudo Yisborach Ba'olamos Elyonim, and that Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echod, is how Hashem is unified in the higher worlds, and that is called Yehuda Elah, the higher unity or the higher unification. And that's not what we're going to be concentrating on. That's not the creation of Yesh Mayan. What we're going to be concentrating on V'hu HaMashiach Ba'olamos in the Nevroim, and also Hashem, the essence of Ein Sof, Hashem Elokeinu, is unified in the created worlds. My hand does not feel itself separate from me.
Yes.
Okay? But you feel yourself separate from me. So too, the world of Atzilus, Hashem's right hand is his attribute of kindness. It's not separate from him at all. But in the created world, you have an angel called the angel Michael, who feels himself separate from Hashem. So you have these two things. You have the upper unity, where the hand is included in the person and is not felt as separate. And then you have the lower unity, how there are created worlds, but Hashem is unified in them. Ma'in Yesh, and they those created worlds, those separate worlds, come out from nothing to exist as something. That's what shall say Amar, and on this we say Baruch Shem Kavod Machuso Le'olam Boed. And even though there are created worlds that are separate from him, he doesn't change at all. The Ainbo Shum period, and there's no separation, the Chaluki Madregos and separate levels in Hashem, Rafakinas Atzmuso, only his essence, Shahu, Lavado, he is alone, who ain't built though, and there is none with him. So it sounds like a complete contradiction. How could it be there's a world that exists and there's only Hashem? And you could ask, well, maybe the worlds don't really exist, but they obviously exist. Bereshis bara Elohim asher shamayim v'ha'aretz. Hashem actually creates the world. Who are Sovet? He's the surrounding level. But who? Hamamali, and he's the infilling level. Bolamos Elyonim in the higher worlds. There's Taktonim in the lower worlds. Vashava Gemor, completely equal. Hine Zehu mitzvahs hasaga be'inyan zeh shemaromas v'tzvar shema Yisrael. And this is the commandment, listen Israel. And the first line is how is unified in the upper world. V'achar kach bo lebechinas hada'as v'hakara be'inyan zeh ad shebo lebechinas omekriyas haseichel k'moshe spoil. And you can finally come to not just understand it, but you can actually recognize it, how that is, until you finally get to an even higher level, which is the seeing of the intellect of this thing. It's seen
for seeing in your mind.
Well, let's say Shema Yisrael, you say this, explain something real good to somebody. He goes, I hear what you're saying. And then he goes, when he finally gets it, he goes, oh, I see. Sometimes, like you get a flash in your mind, and it's like seeing something in your mind. It's not the seeing of the eye, what will have when Mashiach comes, but it's some kind of a seeing. I actually have a little bit of that experience, giving you an explanation, but somehow you see something that's a glow that's higher than what's being explained. That's the kind of thing. What do we say? The Yadaita, and on this it says you should know. The Yadaita Hayom, you should know this day, that Havaya is Elohim on the heaven above and the earth below, like we say in Olenu 3 times a day. So it says you should know. That's a commandment to know. Havaya hu Elohim kula v'yadua, the Shem Havaya nikra Shem Etzem, and it's known that the name Havaya is called the essence name, the essential name. Shemor or Atzmos or Ein Sof, which indicates the essence and core. And the name Elohim indicates the potential or power. Shemor al Koach HaPoel Benifal HaNikra Mamalik Olam, which indicates the power of the act. The fast marshal for that will be like a guy who throws a stone. The stone is flying, it appears separate from the hand, but the whole power of the stone, the arc that it's traveling in, and the place where it's going to hit, and the speed of it is all from the hand that threw it. You don't see the hand. That's the name Elohim. That's the hidden level of God that's dressed in the creations. I is Elohim. Kulachad is really all Hashem. Because the infilling light, that power of the name Elohim that comes from the name Elohim, is not separate at all from the essence of Hashem. I debated with myself if I should start in the bottom paragraph of this page get to. However, this paragraph here tells you an amazing principle in Chabad Chassidus that's not really very well known. We said that Shema means to understand, and that Bina means to understand. And what are we understanding? The unity of Hashem. How? Through the light that fills the world, the Malik Olaman. Yeshpo, and that Bina has Orach, Rochav, V'omek. It has 3 dimensions. The width, the length, and the depth. Shabbat that are in it, who is V'ha'orach, and the length that's in it, al hasechol b'neshalem shom, is to bring this understanding close of this explanation. How you doing? Known metaphors. Until it becomes very close to the mind. This thing of the godly light that fills all worlds. I'm going to skip the Yiddish unless maybe Rabbi Hayom wants to do it. You see where we are? The end of the line is Velosh in Yiddish in the parentheses. It's lower down. Come close. Okay, to our intellect. Shama, and to dress the idea into physical metaphors until a little kid can understand this thing of how Hashem fills all worlds.
Even to have any kind of concept of Hashem attributed, watering it down.
Watering it down. That's a good metaphor. The Zehu, wait a second. Yeah. Well, yeah. But by coming out with many metaphors, for this thing, like the metaphor for the light that fills up all worlds. How? Where do we find it? Oh, more haner, or from the light of a candle, how it lights up a house. Oh, or from power to actor in the act, like we explained, like the guy throwing the stone. So, with all these metaphors, this idea comes close to the intellect, which is basically there's this infinite godly existence that contracts himself in order to an array and a candle and a glow and a power of the actor in the act. Words that you bring for this, you'll serve even though their point is the same, this thing that there's this godly actor to make the world come into being and be enlivened. That's the light that fills all worlds. The Yovan Indian and it can be understood from just one metaphor. It comes closer to the mind. And this is the length of this understanding of this dynamic called the light that fills all worlds. It's the metaphors through which it's explained. There's a thing in the Gemara that says it's not good to repeat yourself, except in Torah it's good to repeat yourself. That's what it means. You bring many metaphors to the same thing. So that's the length. So what's the width of this understanding of the light that fills all worlds? The Indians have Malik Olaman, Yovim, Bahaktim, Shein Efshar, Lahasik of Sagas Hayuchud Elohim, You can't understand the godly dynamic through one metaphor because it's Hashem, it's a dynamic. Because any physical metaphor cannot include all the details and angles of a godly dynamic. Shiur Eloki, which is the godly light. The width of the explanation is to know which point in the godly dynamic each metaphor is illustrating. Each one is illustrating a different point in the godly dynamic. The sun and the ray is one point in the godly dynamic. The candle and its glow illustrates another point. And the power of the actor in the act illustrates another point. And he's going to bring another metaphor of how the neshama enlivens a body. So to bring it down to practicality, which he will later, just to get an idea of what we're talking about, the metaphor of the sun and a ray, the sun can light up 1,000,000 houses through a beam that goes into each house. It can cook an egg on the sidewalk. It can do photosynthesis and grow a lot of trees. Give a person the suntan, and it does it all at once, and it doesn't change. Illustrating how all these actions could be accomplished. Hashem to do all this creation, and he doesn't change. The problem with the metaphor of the sun only shines on stuff. It doesn't enliven it. Therefore, I need the metaphor of how soul enlivens the body. That's not enough, because when the soul enlivens the body, it changes. Therefore, I need the sun and the ray. So each one of the metaphors illustrates a different point, and that's called the width of this explanation of the light that fills all worlds. Hiyuchud metaphors, how Hashem is unified in the world. Yachad together, Dafka, Yoven is that he is unified in the world. When you haven't deeped your mind in one of a better translation into this thing of the details of these metaphors, to understand the unity of the Ein Sof, of the infinite one, Ba'olamos in the world, Ra, Klalos, get through the many metaphors without knowing which point each one illustrates, as Ein Rivli and Mishal and Mishama should be closer to the intellect, but it hasn't widened out yet into a real understanding. This thing of bringing closer the intellect through many metaphors is called the length of this understanding. Maybe you'll understand which point each metaphor is illustrating. How the godly, how Hashem is unified in the world. Sha'az, Nigla, Eitzlo, it will be revealed to you, Inyan, Hayuchud, Eloki, the Kama Ofanim, how Hashem is unified with this light that fills all the worlds and with the worlds in many different ways. Shonim, below, Ofen Echod, Bilvad, and not just in one way. The Zel Inyan, Haroch of the Bina, and this is the width of this understanding. That from that, knowing the difference, which point each metaphor illustrates, we'll finally be able to get to the depth of this understanding.
It's mamish a mitzvah there.
Yeah.
So
And we say it 3 times a day, and this is how you do it. V'hinei, lahavin ze'hetei, hine yadua, sheyesh v'chinas Hiyichud or Elohim. To understand it better, we can understand that the idea of this unification of the godly light, ba'olamos, in worlds, shnei ofanim, is in 2 different ways. The derech klal in general, behind the derech essen be'espashtos, the derech elam begilui. One way is called an outspread from an essence, and the other way is called a revelation of the hidden thing. And they're both because the unification of the emanator with the emanations means the 10 spheres of the world of Atzilus, like the hand that doesn't feel separate from the person. That is manifest through a way that's called the revelation of a hidden thing. Bechinas orin so shemaluvish bechinas kelim da'atzilus. His yash is dressed in the vessels of the world of Atzilus, comes down through there to be unified with the creation. That's like the angel that feels separate from Hashem. That's in a way of an essence which from an out, the essence will be the sun and the ray will be the outspit. Oh, Kamimer, the Siddur. Anyway, it's in the Siddur where it explains Ashrei Zecharav Tubacha. V'hinei bebechinas etzem b'sparsus. And this outspread from an essence, yesh daled mishalim. There are 4. Before he said there was 3. There are 4 metaphors. Ha'echad mashal d'ziv ha'shemesh. One is the ray of the sun. Ha'meir li'aretz. It shines in the earth. There's a candle that shines in the house. V'ha'gimel mechayes nefesh b'guf is how the soul enlivens the body. V'ha'dalad mekoach ha'porah b'nifal. The power of the actor in the act, and he's going to explain each one of these in detail until they're completely understood. And from all of them together, Yovan Omek Inyan Hayuchud, the Orin Sof Olamos, will understand the depth of this thing of how the infinite is unified in the created world. Almost unabroad. And there's 2 that are being enlivened, and 2 that are being brought into being. Máin from nothing to something. And to understand all this that we said, we're going to start with the questions of the philosophers. He means the Greek philosophers. Have a question on the Jewish cosmology. The echos hisavos kol nebroim. How is it that the creations come into being? Mito yispark from Hashem. The echu mechayosam. And not only how does he bring them into being, how does he enliven them? Even after they're created, the prat in particular, that they asked 2 questions. For Echod, how could it be that a limited thing can be brought into being by definition of unlimited, which means it has to be unlimited. It's stuck to that. That's what you call it. It's unlimited. But unlimited be Hashem. By Hashem means he can do limited also. He's completely unlimited. Ki halo hapa'ula tedama lepoel, similar to the one who's doing the act. So how could there be a limited world? That's the first question. But second question, and if so, then you see Hashem has to change from before the creation to after the creation. Because before the creation, he was nisasful in the brain. He has to be into these creations that he created. The ain lavadu mamish. So now he's not alone. So you see a change. Like he was before he created. Vim came by himself. Now he's into the creations. He has to keep them alive. His philos for shinoi, and the fact that he has to keep them alive shows there's a change in it. Because before he created them and kept them and made them alive, he didn't have to do that. So that's their question. Asher Elokushos, these questions, to posit that there are other gods, some kind of middlemen between Hashem and us. But their eyes are blind, they can't see. They have physical eyes.
No, I was wondering why he's saying that.
But it could be because, after all, there is a world, and there's something that's running it. But they're saying, well, it can't be Hashem. He's too misnasa. He's too separate from the world. So they're saying, so these other gods that have to do with the world. That's their.
No, I'm just wondering why they just wouldn't say if they're allowed. No, I'm just saying the Greeks. I'm saying that the question isn't answered by the answer. Yeah. So if they're saying a thing can't change, well, anytime you'd have a creation. So even if they want to claim that, when they had this belief, there was big. They also had like the big guys and they're small guys. I mean, like their answer. If we're just saying the answer that's being given isn't a good answer to the original question either. So like whatever.
No, no. The answer that's being given.
See, with how they answer the question, I'm just saying they didn't really answer the question.
Right. I agree. I don't see the logic in that, but that's what he's saying.
So created everything. He always existed, and he always, and since he's, I guess, he would also look at infinite universe. So I understand, I sort of understood they're saying like the idea of being. I don't understand that literally not whatever it's because they didn't fully understand how you could have it. But I'm saying if they're arguing like you can't say God doesn't change it as soon as you make something. I also don't get the logic in that, but that's what he's saying. But that's not the point he wants to make. The point he wants to make is they're looking from their own idea of how things are. They're looking from physical eyes.
And according to Aristotle, there was no creation. He shows it that way. There was no creation, and people always use everything always existed in a physical space.
Because they are saying what Hashem does is similar to what people do. Shaar called that everything a creation could exist. You can take a piece of silver and make a cup out of it. Well, but Hashem, whom he does everything from nothing to something. So nothing doesn't change. It continues to stay nothing. And they have the sun. In the sun doesn't exist there. It's just a flame over there. You could say it. Yeah, well, it's only a mushal, but by Hashem, it really doesn't exist.
he's trying to, of course, he's trying to answer them by saying you're looking at this fact you have to change one thing to another. So the thing itself has to make from it. If you have something that's adding on to, if you went to a computer to say, well, no, there's 1,000, but so put another one at the end, don't change from it because you just put another thing into that.
Something like that. ולא הגם שבחינוך המלך כל עלמין נקרא בשם כוח הפועל בנפרד, even שזהו בחינוך שם אדוני, that is not Havaya, or Shem Elohim, or the name Elohim, it's not similar to our power of the actor in the act.
When we say in terms of God being unchanging, just meaning in essence, not because the God has a relationship with human beings. How is that not? That's not the answer.
Well, I don't. In other words, let's put it this way: once He manifests this thing of being our Father, I mean, the Father is. That's what a father is. He's connected with the kids in the way that they give him nachas. So there you see a change. So, but I don't think we're worried about that here. What we're trying to understand is the light that fills the worlds, the created world. Paul Shalamat, Ba'adam. Ki Ba'adam, Hamshachas HaPa'ula, Mekoch HaPola, Hu Miyesh Liyesh. The way it's done here, the power of the actor in the act, you have a limited actor and a limited thing. Aval, Lamayla B'Pay Hashem, Be'Elokus, Hamshachas HaPoel, Pa'ula, Ma'or Eloki, Hu Ma'ayin Liyesh, K'mo She'Spoyer, B'Pay Hashem, it's coming from a nothing to a something. That's good, huh?
Whatever you decide.
No, I'm fine.
I don't want to hold you any more than you want to commit. It's already 9:30.
Yeah.
So whatever.
Well, this is a natural break, but I'll just say where he's going to explain the difference between two dynamics in the godly action. One is called Shefa, and one is called Or. So he's going to say that Shefa, there's a change from the you give $1 to a poor person. Now you don't have the same number of dollars you had in the beginning. And he's going to say that even a spiritual flow, like a teacher to a student, the teacher changes when he gives to the student. How? He doesn't lose any of his intellect. But at the time he's teaching the student, he can't be doing something else. So there's a change. But lies, he's going to say there is no change in the one who's giving the life because everything is done through a ray.
The answer that the Rebbe gives the Mein is that to basically say that when you have yesh to yesh, the yesh is being changed. When you have Mein to yesh, nothing is changed. Simply
in the ayin, the yesh could change.
Simply brought to existence, nothing has changed. So, I mean, but even so, isn't reality in of itself still being changed by the fact that?
Well, I think I can explain your question. There's two metaphors. One is a spring of water, how it bubbles out of the ground, and the other one is a lightning flash.
It's one of the Medrash.
For the creation.
Yeah, it's one of the Medrash.
So when a lightning flash comes out, it automatically has to go back. It can't stay there. It has to be included in the source. So that's like the creation. The second it's created, Hashem has to keep saying the creation, a new lightning flash has to come out. However, but unlike lightning, the same world comes out just the next second. So that's why you need the metaphor of the spring of water. It's a continuous flow, but it's brand new. So you need the both metaphors. I don't know if that's what you're asking, but it might approach helping to answer it.